afternoon, everyone. I'd like to invite my colleagues, the Reverend Hank Hurst and the Reverend Catherine Segas, to join me in this welcome. Hank is the minister of the UU Church in Medford, and Catherine is the senior minister and executive director of the UU Urban Ministry.
And we have been the two men and one woman in Colleen's life these last few years. We come together today, this day which in the Christian calendar is known as Trinity Sunday. We represent First Parish Church in Dorchester, the Unitarian Universalist Urban Ministry, and the Unitarian Universalist Church of Medford. A trinity of religious communities who have shaped Colleen's ministry and who celebrate Colleen's ordination. The Unitarian Universalist Church of Medford is the result of a consolidation of the First Parish Unitarian Church, the First Universalist Church, and the Hillside Universalist Church. It is a church with a rich history of lay members and clergy alike. Its members wrote Jingle Bells and Over the River Through the Woods, authored the first popular cookbook, and funded John Brown. William Ellery Channing gave his very first sermon there, and Thomas Starr King did his student ministry under the tutelage of Hosea Blue II, who went on to become the first president of Tufts College. No pressure, Colleen. No pressure.
So the First Parish Church in Dorchester, gathering in 1630, is the oldest congregation in Boston. It has a long and illustrious history, being one of the founding congregations of Harvard and also the founder of the Manners School, the oldest elementary school in the country, fully supported by public taxation, with which we share this site here on Meeting House Hill. Originally a conclave of Boston Brahmin, Puritans, and Unitarians, Dorchester has seen wave after wave of immigrants over the centuries and is now one of the most richly diverse urban areas in the country.
Unitarian Universalist Urban Ministry goes way, way back to the middle of the 1820s and then formally incorporated in the 1830s. The Benevolent Fraternity of Churches was the vision of ministers in the area who knew that the ministry must extend beyond the walls of the congregation, which at that time was more like pews, condos owned by the members. Joseph Tuckerman was the founder of the Benevolent Fraternity, called the Ben-Frat for many, many decades, and he and his partner, William Ellery Channing, partner in ministry, they were Harvard college roommates, college and seminary were virtually the same thing in that era. And so they gathered many ministers, not only Unitarian ministers at the time, but Episcopal, Methodist, and reached out into the community to help people that weren't members of churches and were struggling with different kinds of issues. Over the almost 2 centuries, the ministry has had locations in different places. Right now, we're located in Roxbury, and we still partner with ministers in both the Mass Bay District, the Lou Channing District, and the Clara Barton District. About 50 member congregations support and staff and bring new things for the ministry to do. It's changed what programming is many times over the almost 100 years.
When Colleen and Linda first came to our church, she was a shy, retiring woman with dark black hair. And in just a few short years, she and her beloved Linda came to our church in Medford and have served our church in so many ways. They've been at the center of our community life and are at the center of our hearts. We have enjoyed and been blessed watching her grow and blossom into the minister that she has become.
When Colleen came to this hybrid internship, which Dorchester has shared with the UU Urban Ministry. She was still discerning whether her call was to parish or community ministry. Though she had preached before, those first few times in this pulpit, she was visibly anxious. The air is maybe a little thinner up there. I'm not sure how much the large meeting house or the high pulpit contributed to this, but she quickly overcame those fears and has led thoughtful, compassionate, and inspiring worship here throughout these last 2 years. In fact, those three adjectives, thoughtful, compassionate, and inspiring, are qualities that have been apparent in every aspect of this internship and are part of what makes her a great minister.
Art mentioned that this is a hybrid ministry. There are not many hybrid internships. There are not many internships in community ministry. In our ministerial formation, we are required to do parish internships. And during seminary, I worked with many colleagues who were trying to discern whether they wanted to do parish ministry, community ministry, some kind of hybrid ministry. Many of us are called in that middle ground. And I wish that there were more community ministry internships. I'm newly fellowship myself. Colleen was a colleague of mine in seminary. And to start an internship, I needed a partner in the parish who was willing to be the formal supervisor of record. And so I reached out to Art, thinking that this would be the perfect pairing of an urban congregation and the urban community ministry that is ours. So Colleen was one of the applicants. We had many applicants, fine applicants, that earned enough internships. And we were delighted when she joined us. Unlike a parish internship, there's been more feeling our way along. And I think that that's also the case in ministry in general in today's world. We're feeling our way along. What do we need to learn? What do we need to know? What can we do? It's been a delight to have Colleen as a partner in that exploration.
It is a glad day for our two sister congregations and our sister organization to celebrate Colleen's ordination, when we officially called her out of the pews and into the pulpit. Something that only we, as members of these congregations, can do. No bishop, no civil magistrate, no patron can do that. That is our power. That is your power to do. We celebrate Colleen today because it is our right to do so. It is her day, and it is also our day.
Looking back in the records of First Parish Church in Dorchester, the last time this congregation ordained a minister was in 1937, when this congregation called Bob Storer to be its minister, October of 1937. And so that is more than 75 years ago. So on this auspicious day, we greet you. We welcome you here. Most of the ministers present are only here to support and affirm this calling. It is you, the members of these two historic churches, these two historic congregations. It is you who made the minister this day. Welcome. We're delighted that you are here. Okay. I'd now like to invite Colleen's sister, Elizabeth, and her brother, Bob, to come up and light the memorial candles. The memorial candles are in memory of their parents and their aunt and uncle.
We are called to worship. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We are called to worship, to celebrate, to mark a milestone, both personal and communal. We gather in awe. We gather in thanks. We gather in hope. We consecrate this time and this space by our gathering together. Let us worship.
The past is all prologue. The future is unwritten. The present. The present is where the spark of life resides. It resides in every heart, glowing brighter when we are joined together. The flame of being resides within all true and faithful breasts. It is a flame passed on by previous generations, and a flame that we will pass on to those who come after us. And today, this flame witnesses our humble celebration. So it is to life that we kindle our flame, sure of its power to purify and to bless our gathering, and all the unknown which follows.
Colleen and colleagues, gathered congregation, I bring greetings and heartfelt congratulations from the Unitarian Universalist Association headquarters in Boston, where I serve as the Director of Ministries and Faith Development. One of the joys of my position is the privilege of sitting in on some of the candidate interviews for the Ministerial Fellowship Committee. It was there that I met Colleen, who blew away the committee with her clarity of call and vision. So I can only imagine that it is a bittersweet joy for this congregation and for all of you to ordain Colleen and then send her off to ministry elsewhere. It's a blessing indeed to be a part of a minister's formation. But it's also hard to imagine their absence once they become part of the fabric of the community. You should all be very proud of your part in helping Colleen to grow and develop, because she has something important, I believe, to say and to offer to our movement. If Unitarian Universalism is going to be able to take the best of our past and carry it into a vital new day, we're going to have to learn to embrace a multicultural, multi-class, multi-generational vision of who we are as a people. You all have taken that step here in Dorchester of spinning your silver into transformative possibility for the future. And I have no doubt that Colleen will take the lessons learned here and among the community of the urban ministry and in all of the places where she's learned in seminary and so forth, and bring a special new spark into our movement with her inclusive vision in her ministry. I look forward to seeing her blossom as a leader in our movement and to welcoming her as a cherished colleague.
This is the reading for today. It's written by Craig Rennebaum. This is faith. To experience a spirit of assurance transcending all that is negative, destructive, and alienating. This is faith. To feel, to comprehend, to be touched by the presence of divine love in a moment of shared clarity. The gentleness of such love creates room for us to be present with one another and discover in depth who we are and what it means to be human. We are pilgrims. Some of us travel familiar roads throughout our lives, highways well marked. We might never leave the village or neighborhood in which we grow up. Others of us move out into new territories, different and distant lands, to follow our calling or our dreams. And some of us are taken not of our own will of choice, into the landscape of the illness. But wherever we are on the journey, we are on holy ground. Our lives are sacred. Our first calling is to create communities that care for and include the most fragile, vulnerable, and estranged among us. In reaching out to the stranger in our midst, the person we have been taught to fear or ignore or shun or despise, we discovered the fundamentals of faith. The pilgrimage of peace does not require travel to faraway sites. The way begins with our next step, with our neighbor who is suffering. Thus ends the reading of the day. film from several years ago called As It Is in Heaven, a world-famous conductor's failing health prompts him to return to his hometown, a small, depressed, hard-scrabble community in the far north of Sweden. He's goaded into directing the wretched remnant of a choir in the village church, and things begin to change as this odd and unlikely bunch of people is transformed into a choir. He begins by telling them, imagine that the music already exists. It's up here, all around, vibrating, ready to be brought down. It's all a matter of listening, of preparing yourselves to bring it down. Well, mostly they stare at him, kind of baffled, but one man in the back nods in recognition. The conductor, who knows what the music is and what it has the power to do, tells them each person has their own unique tone, their own individual voice, and we're going to find it. The first step is for each person to tune into the vibrations in the universe, to find the one that resonates in them, to find their unique voice by listening not only with their ears, but by feeling those vibrations all around them resonating within them. Eventually, painstakingly, the conductor teaches them to bring the music down into their own bodies and their own lives. This is faith, writes Craig Renabon in Souls in the Hands of a Tender God. This is faith, to feel, to comprehend, to be touched by the presence of divine love in a moment of shared clarity. For the conductor, for some of us, and I dare say for Colleen, faith begins there. In that experience, we Unitarian Universalists have named the direct experience of the transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces that create and uphold life. Whether they call it music, divine love, spirit of life, God, mystery, or life itself, whether they experience it in singing, in worship, nature, community life, or working for justice, those whose lives are lived in awareness of it become bearers of faith. Faith is not something they have or something they give. It is something they embody. Aware of its generative power to transform lives and communities, they are compelled to share it. Today we gather to ordain one such bearer of faith to the Unitarian Universalist ministry. Whether Colleen is leading worship or working with a committee, providing pastoral care, supporting and challenging a friend, a family member, or a colleague, or engaging with youth at the UU Urban Ministry, Colleen embodies faith. She has all the necessary gifts and skills of ministry, and indeed, she has worked harder than many to ensure that she is fully prepared through education and experience for the Unitarian Universalist ministry. We are gathered here today to affirm the importance of Unitarian Universalism and of our professional ministry, and to bear witness to Colleen's calling. But I dare say that all the preparation in the world cannot make a minister of one who is not possessed of faith, who does not have an experience of the presence of divine love, however understood in her own life. In this regard, Colleen is richly blessed, and she knows exactly what that blessing requires of her.
She knows how it calls her to be, and she knows what it calls her to do in the world. Let me return to that conductor for a moment. He doesn't just sit on a mountaintop having this spiritual experience all by himself or all to himself, nor does he encourage his choir members to find their voices so that they can skip through a meadow endlessly singing alone. No way. The conductor helps a depressed, hardscrabble community to experience the sacred in their own lives by helping them bring the music down into their shared experience. Once each has found her voice, his own voice, the conductor works with them to tune their individual voices to one another's voices, teaching them to simultaneously hear themselves and one another, each and all tuned to the music itself, until they are joined in the infinite circle of song. If this sounds idyllic, it's not. The transformation of lives, our own and others, is some of the hardest work imaginable. One of my favorite seminary professors, Greg Mobley, is fond of saying, if your God's just the God of sunshine and flowers, your God ain't the God of much. On the way to the infinite circle of song, the choir fight among themselves. They struggle with old familiar grudges and self-limiting ways. The conductor himself, as human as any minister, wrestles with the difficult legacy of his childhood, his loss of identity, and his own inner demons. It is some of the hardest work imaginable. But the music keeps them coming back. This is faith, writes Rennebaum, to experience a spirit of assurance transcending all that is negative, destructive, and alienating, to be touched by the presence of divine love in a moment of shared clarity. The gentleness of such love creates room for us to be present with one another and discover in depth who we are and what it means to be human. Slowly, through the choir's dedication and hard work, and through no small measure of grace, a young man with autism discovers that his strange voice has the potential to ground not only him, but the entire choir. A bitter and downtrodden woman finds the courage and hope to change her life. The choir bands together around a woman who's being abused by her husband, standing on the side of love in the face of brutality. And the bully in the choir, he breaks down in tears, and in allowing himself this vulnerability with the choir, he discovers his humanity and thereby his real strength. And the choir director? The choir director finds joy as he learns for the first time to accept love. Each week, in the midst of their struggles and pain, these triumphs of the human spirit are nurtured and called forth as the community joins in song. In Souls in the Hands of a Tender God, Craig Rennebaum suggests that our first calling is to create communities that care for and include the most fragile, vulnerable, and estranged among us. In reaching out to the stranger in our midst, the person we have been taught to fear or ignore or shun or despise, we discover the fundamentals of faith. End quote. We Unitarian Universalists are called not simply to build communities, but specifically to build communities of faith. I believe our future rests on us ceasing to think of ourselves as a movement and choosing instead to understand ourselves as a religious body and our calling as transforming lives and thereby the world. Even as Unitarian Universalism struggles to overcome its limiting identity as a predominantly white middle and upper middle class movement and become an anti-racist, anti-oppression, multicultural religious body, some among us quietly and consistently embody that role in their lives and work. Colleen moves in the world like one who never learned to fear or ignore, to shun or despise, to see others as strangers. Her ministry is the broadest possible embrace of her fellow human beings, one that welcomes every being exactly as they are and bears witness to the possibility that we may yet become more than we ever dreamed possible. And as it is in heaven, when the choir learns to bring the music down together, each embodying it in their own way, the experience transforms every single one of them, and it touches everyone who hears them sing. They become spirits of life and love. Spirits of life and love, bearers of faith and hope, singers of songs, dreamers of dreams, bringers of laughter. You are the wisdom and you are the truth seeker, you the compassionate heart. You are the witness and you are the courage and you are the sweetness of love. Spirits of life and love, bearers of faith and hope, singers of songs, dreamers of dreams, bringers of laughter. You are the wisdom and you are the courage, you the compassionate heart. You are the wisdom and you are the truth seeker, you are the sweetness of love. Spirits of life and love, you are the incarnation of God for me. This is the potential of faith, the awesome, challenging, and life-giving potential of faith. That triumphs of the human spirit are called forth and nurtured. That human beings and whole communities are transformed by faith. This is the ever-challenging, often nourishing, irresistible, and inevitable calling of those who are bearers of faith. Amen.